welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I am Gooey, joined as always by McKenna.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good.
We're continuing our wrap-up of 1997. We've got a lot of special 97 themed shows coming your way. And with this one, you could probably tell we're covering a lot of stuff in this one episode, so we're going to try not to waste too much time, but to let people know what's going on, we got to some movies in our timeline that we're all like, oh god, we got to talk about this, we got to talk about this, we got to talk about this, and we just decided like we're a video game podcast, we can't dedicate all that time to talking about movies, we already do it enough, so we're like, let's put them all into one big episode. So here we've got for you the top box office of the holiday season in 1997. The top 5, but really we've got 6. But who better to come along with us through this trip through time and media? Who better than our pal Rod from Media Made Podcast? Hey, Rod.
I'm here. Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Another reason when we were putting this together was like there was a lot of movies on here that I'm like, oh, Rod would be a good guest for this movie and this movie. And it just was like, okay, we just there's enough movies here that we just this is perfect. Rod's got to be here.
Yeah, and it was nice because we didn't talk about any of these movies when Jess and I covered 97 for our show. Even though some were definitely runners up, we would have liked to talk about some of these, and here we are.
Yeah, and I think we had you on before for some 97 movies way earlier in our timeline. Yeah. But did we ask what were your media made movies for 97?
Well, until probably this week, the movie I saw the most from 97 was Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Oh my gosh.
The second sequel to Honey, We Shrunk the Kids.
Wow.
Yeah. That was one of those VHS classics that we just had on all the time when we were kids. And then Jess's movie was Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion, which is a wonderful 90s flick if you haven't seen it.
I feel like I remember you telling me about this now, but I've not. I think we got to watch that. I think I said I would, and I forgot about it because it's like all coming back to me now.
It's like fashion, music, vibes, super high 90s,
Okay, well, just so people know then, everyone should know about Media Made, which I don't want to pitch it wrong, but basically it's the show about the media that most invaded your lives. So yes. You watch movies, listen to albums, whatever it is from that year of your life that you have seen the most.
Yeah, that's right. Not our favorites necessarily, but the one that you've seen the most or listened to the most in your life.
Which, yeah, that's always makes for an interesting discussion because it's something you're so familiar with, but not always like something you're as enamored with as you maybe were at some point in your life. Or it's a very interesting topic, I think. So, okay, I'm surprised none of these movies made it because
one was close.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
I think with this latest rewatch, it may have overtaken.
Okay. That's a big moment then. That's a landmark moment. So I have kind of we got 6 movies here. I have kind of like an idea about how long we should talk about each of them. But obviously, we do whole episodes on movies. You guys spend hours on movies. So, we could obviously talk way more in depth, and there will be some things left on the table. So I hope people will understand that, though, right? People are cool. They get it. So.
Hey, everyone. My name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week, I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week, and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Let's jump into it. Let's go with our number 6 movie, which I included because earlier in December, it was the number 1 movie, and when we obviously had to talk about it, because we did an episode on the original, the first movie. So Number 6, it grossed $9 million that weekend, that Christmas weekend, holiday weekend. It was Scream 2.
America is screaming for more. The fans have asked for it, so we're bringing it back.
It is a great sequel.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Don't you want to be a part of that?
Critics call Scream 2 one of the few sequels ever that's better than the original.
Right?
It's everything from Scream 1, but like twice as much.
Oh my God.
Scream 2, because once is never enough.
You have a point.
Rated R.
Directed by Wes Craven. And basically, it takes place 2 years after the original Scream, which we covered. And it's got Neve Campbell's character, Sydney, off to college. Some of the other people from the first movie are there too. And a copycat Ghostface killer appears and starts, killing people in fun ways. So, Rod, is this a movie that you had much history with, much background with?
No, I only I remember Scream being big. I had friends who dressed up as Ghostface for Halloween and things like that, but I had never seen it. I think just because I was too sheltered to have seen scary movies back then. And I only just saw the first Scream like 2 Halloweens ago.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah, cool. And so this was my first time watching Scream 2.
Well, how did it feel like you are following it up and you've seen it kind of recently? So I feel like that always helps for me if I've got it like fresher in my mind. Like the fact that McKenna and I covered it, it was like really thrilling to watch this one,
It won me over because at first I think I was maybe I wasn't during my sitting. It maybe it changes from sitting to sitting, but I don't know if I was like won over by the dialogue in this one. It was a little too smart, everyone's talking like, I don't know. It's hard to explain. But
no, I know what you mean. It verges on that in the first
I guess.
one too. Yeah.
That Buffy speak.
Yeah, where it's
it doesn't help the Buffy's in it, but
True.
But at first I was just kind of put off by like, all right, guys, you guys are a little too meta, a little too smart about the fact that you're in a horror movie. But then by the end, I was completely won over. I thought the last hour was thrilling and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a really good mystery movie. That's what I like about these movies is they're really good mystery movies.
Yeah, that it's like they give you like the slasher stuff you kind of are looking for, some of the fun of that, the cool kills or whatever. But it is, I mean, the dialogue, it is like you said, like a bit smarmy maybe or something too, but like the mystery and the stuff, it is like smart writing to some degree. But yeah, it does verge a little too close to the line sometimes. McKenna, what did you think seeing it, as a follow-up? You had just watched the first one too when we covered that?
I had seen the first one before. This one I had only seen like bits of on TV, just like passing by.
What'd you think about it?
I like this one. I liked it more than I thought I would, I think. These ones I like to try and figure out who the killer or
your little
killers are. Yeah.
Did you figure it out?
Almost immediately.
Immediately. Oh my God.
Like pretty much the scene where they're talking about sequel movies that are better.
Yes.
I was like, that's it. It's Timothy Oliphant.
Okay. He was just
and then later, I did kind of suspect the reporter lady. I was like, I kind of think they're both in on it.
But you didn't see like the twist of who she was, I would guess, right?
No, I didn't know who she was.
But that was kind of similar to the first movie. So I guess we can say a little bit of what happens, or like there's sort of a thing going on in the movie. You were talking about there's like a meta thing. They're talking about sequels. The movie touches on that with like Jamie Kennedy's little spiel that he does. He does it in the first movie too. It's more of just like we're analyzing horror movies. We're the movie's a commentary on it, and he's literally speaking to that. And so in this one, they have this whole thing about sequels. So they had the rules in the first one. I've got the rules for this one. The body count is always bigger. The death scenes are always much more elaborate with more blood and more gore. And then he gets cut off in this one where they say, if you want your films to become a successful franchise, never ever. And I think I had read what they originally wrote for that was assume the killer is dead. So, but I think, I don't know, Rod, what do you think? I think that aptly describes like horror movie sequels, but I think the movie still delivered on a good version of that at the same time.
Yeah, I think so. And I thought it was going to be like never ever like change the monster or change the formula too much. I was thinking like Halloween 3.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas like this colossal failure because it wasn't Michael Myers anymore.
To what you were alluding to with the ending before McKenna, like there's also some of their like high-minded discussions they're having, like Rod mentioned, are about like what can cause like these violent acts, and they're playing off at the time in the 90s like the discussion of like violent media. In this case, they're talking about horror movies. But, you know, you'd see that all over in the 90s with video games, music and whatnot. Or is it like because of like the media spectacle and stuff like that? So they show that off in the opening of the movie, too, which is kind of a mix of both the parody and this type of social commentary. But they've got like a how would you describe the opening?
It's kind of like the Minecraft movie.
Yeah. It's like a show. Yeah. They all saw the chicken jockey or whatever.
Yeah. They go see Stab.
Yes. Which is a parody.
Yes. And lots of people are dressed up with the ghost face mask.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, Jada Pinkett Smith is there with her boyfriend, and she's like not into the movie that much.
She's heckling it or whatever.
Yeah,
but the whole crowd is kind of going off, and she's like, "This is ridiculous." Yeah,
yeah.
I like her commentary as a black woman watching these like slasher movies of predominantly white actors and actresses. I thought that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
where she's like, if she was in the movie, she'd be like sensible and, you know, like, leave the house. What are you doing?
Yeah, but I'm sure that's like also relatable to a lot of people who like watch horror movies and they're like, why are they running up? You know, like that's something people always do, and then that's something they lean into in Scream, where they're like, well, we're gonna have the people doing that stuff.
Her boyfriend Lee goes to the bathroom.
He gets stabbed through the stall or something. Yeah, I don't remember his death.
Yeah. So the killer comes back and sits down next to Jada Pinkett Smith. She just thinks it's her boyfriend messing with her. Mm-hmm. And then she gets it.
But it's like while stuff's going on in the movie.
Yeah. And it like does not register with the viewers at first.
Yeah, at first they're going crazy, you know. It's like this big frenzy, and that's sort of like the it's a pretty wild scene. It's very cool. Where she's like up in front of the projector or whatever. It was honestly pretty cool, but yeah, really intense and freaky. And then that's like the inciting incident for, you know, like this whole movie. You know, that's what gets like all the characters to come in and be involved, and that's where they start talking about like the media frenzy. You know, you have you had Gail Weathers, Courtney Cox's character, come back, and she's like trying to report on this. And you've got who they revealed to be one of the killers in the end is one of the other reporters. So the movie, and I guess you mentioned Timothy Olyphant. he's the killer, and the whole like reason he wants to do it is because he like wants the basically like the media attention. So I mean, I guess the movie kind of comes down on, yeah, it's really more to do with the excitement the media whips up over these type of, you know, violence and acts of violence and stuff like that. And then there's like the twist that she's also Billy Loomis's mom, the other reporter.
A lot of faith in the audience to remember who Billy Loomis is from the first movie, because even though I have seen Scream 1 recently, I've completely forgot everything that kind of happened in that movie.
Yeah, it's a little, yeah, it's not like, well, it's a good performance and everything, but yeah, it's not like the main thing you remember from that movie, you know? I feel like it almost didn't need that twist of it being the mom. You know, I thought it could have been like just commentary on, you know, like it would have been, it was already over the top anyway. That pushed it even farther, but I think it could have been an over the top like commentary about like, yeah, this reporter who's it would almost be like what's that movie Nightcrawler, you know, where he's going to get the photographs, the Jake Gyllenhaal movie, you know, where he's like, yeah, anyway. Just about like, you know, some type of thing about like the way the media could like portrays and people consume violence and stuff like that. I think that was enough. I mean, it still works on that level, but I guess it's also, like I said, very much in line with the first movie, where it's like there was that weird twist about how the one of the killers in the first movie was actually getting revenge for, and it was kind of out of left field a little bit.
I like that also. A lot of the action, like obviously the first kill in the movie takes place in a movie theater for a movie that's basically the movie you're watching. You know, it's like a movie within a movie. And then there's a chase scene with Courtney Cox in a like a sound studio at the college.
Oh yeah.
So you're kind of like behind the scenes a lot of the time, like the space within the movie takes place like in production.
Oh yeah,
environments.
Totally.
So I thought that was kind of interesting and fun.
Yeah, that was when they went in like in the sound studio, and like I guess that's in like the film major building. I was like, oh, that's like a dead giveaway that it's Timothy Olyphant's character, because he's like a film major. And I was like, it's totally him. And then but then they ended it on, the movie ends on the stage, the theater's stage.
Oh, that's true too.
Which is where Sydney, I don't know what her school path is, but she's an actress in the theater at least. So it the movie ends on her terms.
You just made me remember David Warner is her.
Yeah. We got a few people here. Well, not here, but who are appearing in other movies in our lineup.
Sandwiching this episode, yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't even really considered that, but yeah, that does all tie it together. I thought it was great. There were fun kills in it too, so I'll give it that.
The scene in the car where they're trying to get out of a crashed car with the killer who's unconscious in the driver's seat. That was pretty rad.
Oh yeah, that was thrilling. Honestly, the sound, the studio chase was also very thrilling. You also had, I also liked, you had the little the parody who's Luke Wilson and Heather Campbell.
Yes.
And Tori Spelling. Like that was fun. Like the parody movies were fun. The like kind of you mentioned Buffy's in it, but sort of like they kind of recreated like the phone thing from the first movie. So it had a lot of like the hallmarks of the first movie that were fun, that were still done well, and it didn't feel like, I don't know, maybe because the movie took that sort of meta approach, but it didn't feel like, oh, they're just totally retreading this. It felt like they were having fun with it. So
I have a question for McKenna, because I know McKenna's a big horror fan. How well do you think the Scream movies hold up as like meta commentaries on horror in recent years compared to things that have come out like Night in the Woods, or not Night in the Woods? What am I saying? Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I mean, I think a lot of horror now tries to go more out of the box, especially a lot of this like A24 stuff. I think it a lot of ways probably still holds up for certain slashers, but I think slashers are kind of trying to go for that vibe a lot of the time. They're like the fun horror.
Yeah. It is sort of, like commentary on a bygone era a little bit. Like it doesn't necessarily apply to like modern circumstances, but like when you put it in the context of that time, I think it still works. I'm sure it was groundbreaking in the 90s, absolutely. And I wasn't there to appreciate it. Sure, yeah. But if you want, I feel like you'd appreciate it too. Like if you go watch any of the 90s slasher stuff made around it, like any of the stuff that came out in the 90s, it is very interesting. So I don't know. It's interesting to see it kind of in discussion with the other slasher films of the time. But yeah, you definitely can't like take it and then point it at like I don't know. Maybe you could point it at Megan 2 or something. I haven't seen it yet. So. Yeah, I think we're due for the Conjuring meta movie. Yeah. Yeah, if we need the scary movie people on. No, we don't. No, we don't. No. That's another one. It was funny that summer that Halloween I watched Scream 1. I also watched Scary Movie along with it. And it's like, oh yeah, okay, Scream is definitely smarter, better, funnier. Yeah, because it compared to this, it's like, oh, it's doing, like I mentioned before with some of that stuff, it's doing like a send up in a way, but it's also trying to do a good version of one of those movies too. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're making good time. Let's move on because, well, we might talk more about some of these, but okay, our actual number 5 movie grossed $9.2 million, and that was Jackie Brown.
Christmas is usually a time for giving, but this year, Santa's got a brand new bag. What do a stewardess, a gunrunner, a bail bondsman, an ex-con, a federal agent, and a beach bunny have in common? They're all chasing $500,000 in cash.
Man, I ain't getting in this trunk.
You ain't gonna be in here no more than 10 minutes.
I ain't riding in no trunk for no minute.
Jackie Brown, rated R. Christmas Day everywhere.
All right. Yeah, written and directed by Quentin Tarantino. Adapted, I didn't know it was adapted from a novel by Elmore. Rum Punch, yeah. So Rod, this was one of the movies where I was like, okay, we got to get Rod on because I know you're a big Tarantino fan, but specifically this movie as well. So tell us about it. Like, what's your story with this movie? On some days, and maybe today is that day, it's my favorite Tarantino movie. I literally just watched it like before we got on mic. It's a comfort movie for me. When I was kind of filling in my Tarantino backlog, like late high school, early college, I like Pulp Fiction. I like Reservoir Dogs. I like Kill Bill. But there was just something about Jackie Brown that was just so endearing. I don't know. It's low key compared to everything else he does. Like it doesn't have a lot of the Tarantino isms that people point to. Like it's not too violent. There's a lot less like overt pop culture references, and it's sort of a send up of blaxploitation, but it really isn't. Yeah, no, not really. It's kind of just a good movie about like, it's just like a low key crime movie starring kind of like, a middle-aged cast. Yeah, which was the cool in its own, on its own. But yeah, I like that. Like you mentioned, it's more low key. Like it doesn't have like, I think of when you think of his two previous movies, it has, like there's some sort of like with Pulp Fiction, it's like, the scenes are like out of order. You know what I mean? Like this is like, it's more straightforward. Like they do a little bit of that stuff towards the end, but it is just like a short, like even so just to like, it's unlike, like with Scream, I was like, okay, I'll kind of describe the plot a little bit. And there is that in this, but a lot of it's like, it doesn't, the plot doesn't like reveal itself in a way like that's as traditional. It is kind of like low key in that sense. So it's like, you've got Pam Grier, who plays the title character, and she's a flight attendant who is smuggling stuff for Ordell Roby?
Ordell Roby. Played by Samuel L. Jackson.
Played terrifically by Samuel L. Jackson, he's a gun runner. She gets caught up with the authorities. Michael Keaton is one of the guys, one of the agents, and they basically make a deal with her to stop him. And then she works with this bail bondsman, Robert Forster, who we love. But then they work together to basically put the authorities on Ordell and steal all his money. And that's basically what's going on. But a lot of it is it's a lot more of I feel like character interactions and stuff like that, you know?
It's this movie allows its characters, there are things they have to do, but sometimes they're just going to sit at the kitchen table and talk about getting old for, a few minutes. You don't get that in other Tarantino movies. And I think that's why this one's his coziest movie.
Yeah. What, McKenna, I don't know. Have you seen many Quentin Tarantino movies?
I've seen a few, but not a ton. Enough to know that this was different, different vibe from his other ones. But yeah, cozy, definitely.
Cozy,
more the coziest of with respect to his other movies. Low key is also a really good way to describe it. It's like you said, it's not going crazy with the violence. It's a lot of just conversations,
hanging out, listening to
different kinds of conversations. Yeah, going, talking in a bar. I really like that conversation about getting old too.
Yeah, which is so funny. Most of the actors in this movie are now even older, and they're still working. So it was kind of fun, I guess, to see. But yeah, it was cool to see your main lead is a middle-aged woman. You know?
I was I don't see a lot of movies of the protagonist like her, and it was nice.
I know that Tarantino, when he made this movie, he's well, I love Pam Grier from the 70s movies she made. She was famous for Coffee and Foxy Brown. Those are her big movies in the 70s. And he said, I want her back in movies. So I'm going to cast her in this movie. And I guess in Rum Punch, the novel it's based on, the main character isn't named Jackie Brown. In fact, it's a white woman.
Oh,
and he says,
okay.
That's fine. I'm just going to do colorblind casting. Character is now black and played by Pam Grier. And she's going to be awesome. And I thought it worked because she deserves to be in more movies because she's so great.
That's something I always respect about him is he's I just need this person to be in more movies for my own sake. And I like that he does that. I gotta say I was really charmed by Robert Forster's character, the whole
he's
movie.
Incredible.
I love their I wanted, I did find I was rooting for both of them so much, and it was. I thought I don't think I've ever seen this movie, in its entirety. I've seen pretty much all of his movies. Actually, I've seen all of his movies now for sure. Now I've seen this in its entirety. So I did not know what was going to happen, and I was very worried the whole movie that it just seemed like he was gonna die. Robert Forster's character. It seemed too sweet and too perfect. That I was I know a lot of his movies don't necessarily have the happiest of endings, but this movie does. Maybe that's why it contributes to the coziness. It felt very sweet at the end.
I think it is one of the most believable love stories in film history.
Yeah.
I really I watched movies and I was these people don't love each other. They don't even know each other. But I felt a connection between Jackie and Max Cherry in this movie.
Yes, that's right. Max Cherry. Okay. Yeah, he was great. Rod, I know you were showing me one day, like you went to a bunch of like the locations from the movie.
Jackie Brown, on top of being just a good movie, it's also a great love letter to a side of Hollywood that you don't normally see, or not Hollywood, just Los Angeles. Because obviously Tarantino loves Los Angeles. None of his movies like are set there, but this is specifically South Bay, the region of Los Angeles, which is kind of the LAX and surrounding area, which is like south of downtown.
Okay.
It's got some, there's like beach areas, and then, it kind of goes into like Torrance and stuff. And so I'm obviously a huge fan of this movie, and I had gone to see a lot of filming locations for Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs with a friend before, and we said, let's just go do Jackie Brown next. Let's just go to all these Jackie Brown filming locations. And it was neat, but it was also interesting because a lot of the places they made, a lot of the places they filmed, they don't look the same anymore. Like the Cherry Bail Bondsman building is gone. It's been replaced by apartments and like a Starbucks. The mall has been completely redesigned. Like the Del Amo Mall still exists, but it looks completely different from the way it looks in the movie. So in some ways, Jackie Brown is like this great artifact of mid-90s Los Angeles that great, it's just like you'll never see again. Because I know McKenna, I don't know if you're working on a project where you're like movies filmed in or set in certain states or something, but Jackie Brown is one of the most authentically Southern California movies that you'll ever see. Like the real SoCal, where it's, it's not, you don't think the glitz and glam of Hollywood. It's like, no, this just feels like a suburb of Southern California. Like the mall looks like how malls looked when I was a kid.
Write that one down.
Yeah.
Well, you have that down, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think California is going to be a multi film.
It's like cruising book. USA.
Yeah.
You have to spend a lot more time there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, it is. I feel like it is like, I think of like Pulp Fiction has like a narrative, but it oftentimes feels like it's like a series of vignettes. But this kind of felt like that too, as we mentioned, like even though there was kind of a plot unfolding and moving forward. And I felt like it just gives you, it's cozy in that you spend a lot of time with the characters and just kind of like, in some cases you can get so much about them from like just these little scenes, these little moments. But I don't know, McKenna, I mean, is there Jackie Brown? We talked about her. She's great. Do you have any other characters that really stood out for you, McKenna?
So I was just thinking of a moment. Well, you have Melanie, who is often getting high on the couch, and Ordell says to her something like, "If you do that too much, all your ambition will go away.
It'll rob you of your ambition."
Yeah, and she just goes, What if my ambition is to get high and watch TV on the couch?
You're like relatable.
Yeah, that was a great little moment.
Yeah, like their dynamic is really interesting too, because like I guess it speaks a lot to Ordell's character. Like he's very interesting to me. Like he has this whole thing he talks to later to Robert De Niro, I think, about like, oh, like I don't trust her, but I know her or whatever. And he thinks he's like a finessing type of guy, but he's really not. And I think that's what's interesting about her. And she mentions that a lot. Like he just tries to sound smarter than he is. And I think that's what makes him, I feel like, it's kind of a classic, I think, movie thing where you could watch this and be like, this Samuel L. Jackson, he's cool. He's got it all figured out. But I kind of like that this movie, he's got like schemes and things like that, but I don't think he has it all figured out, and that makes him more interesting as a character because he's more human, more vulnerable of a guy.
And you mentioned Robert De Niro. I think he's playing such a unique character, someone you never see him play before, where he's just this loser.
Yeah, he's a bum.
He's really like, he's a bum. He's like, he's awkward. He is unconfident, and he just like sometimes there's a great moment where Ordell tells his name is Lewis. Robert De Niro plays Lewis. So Ordell is telling Lewis, like, call Jackie. I need to get her over here. And he looks over at Lewis and goes, is she home? And Lewis is just like dead-eyed, just staring out into space. And he goes, Lewis, you listen to me, man? Oh, what? Like, what's going on?
He is so good in this. Yeah. And like what you said, he portrays like a very particular type of guy that feels so relatable and so like not cool. I think yeah,
he's not cool.
Which is like, I feel like how people, it's not how people want to picture Robert De Niro like normally, you know? Yeah, cast, it's all great. Michael Keaton down to like, you know, some of the smaller parts. Like, I think it's all really good.
Tiny Lister's in there.
As he's like Max Sherry's, like he works for him basically, right?
Yeah, as enforcer or whatever.
I did like how it did towards the end kind of do a little break and do like, oh, we're going to do sort of the like break up the timeline a little bit. We're going to show that one scene from like 3 different angles. And I thought that was like really clever for that one particular part. And it added a lot of like tension to it and everything. So, you know, I think Quentin Tarantino, I think he gets accused sometimes of being like self-indulgent, and he definitely is. But like, I feel like he was smart in this movie, you know, and he knew when to be like, okay, I'm going to get weird with it here, you know?
And if you ever need a double feature, Jackie Brown, Out of Sight by Steven Soderbergh, because they are technically in the same universe.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes, both based on Elmore Leonard novels, but also Michael Keaton plays the same character in both movies.
Whoa. Okay, add it to the list. We're going to watch that for sure.
Before you move on, I think I have to announce that I think Jackie Brown is my movie of 97 now.
Oh, congratulations. Right. Yeah.
Yay.
Okay, maybe, you know, if I had to pick a movie from 97 that really portrays LA, I think I'd go a different way. I'd go with Volcano myself, but
that's a good one too.
You know, I don't live there, so I can't say for sure which is more accurate.
Different regions, both good. Different parts of LA.
I say that's the double feature you got to do. Let's oh boy. So, moving up the list, our number 4 movie that grossed $9.7 million, Mouse Hunt.
Without warning, they broke into his house. Huge. Ate his food and disturbed his sleep. This holiday season, one house isn't big enough.
We need a cat, preferably with a history of mental illness.
For the 3 of them.
I almost feel sorry for the little fella.
From DreamWorks.
That was good.
Mouse Hunt, rated PG. Now playing. Directed
by Gore Verbinski, starring Nathan Lane and Lee Evans. They play these 2 brothers. They're down on their luck. Their father is played by William Hickey, one of his last film roles. He dies. They inherit the string factory from him, as well as a house that is like this rare. It's like some rare house that was designed by this architect. So they're going to renovate the house and auction it off. But they get into a slapstick, very Home Alone, I feel like, inspired style situation, but with a mouse that is already living in their home. Rod, I think I know this movie brought you pain. Have you seen it before? What happened?
I think I've seen the trailer for it. There's a trailer where the mouse like goes to bed in his little bed, and I remember that scene.
That's such an insane reveal.
But I've never seen the movie, and this movie made me question our friendship.
Whoa.
This movie's awful, and I said, Gooey, why would you make me watch this?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say, like, I love this movie or something. Like,
oh, no.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, I know it's not your fault. I know it's the moviegoer of 1997's fault, but I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, come on. It's out of my hands. I couldn't. We're doing real journalism here. I had to watch it. I will say, though, I kind of knew what we were in for because I had this on VHS when I was a kid, and I did watch it a lot. And I remembered a lot of stuff from the movie, but it was both like at time when we started watching it, I was like, this is better than I remember. And then by the end, I was like, this is worse than I remember it being. So I don't know. I'm kind of split on it. McKenna, what'd you think? I'm not split. I don't think it was very good, but
yeah, I had not heard of this before, and I didn't look up anything about it before we started watching. So
what'd you think? Wait, they're gonna hunt the mouse? Yeah,
I guess. Okay. It's quite literal. Though they show that scene with the mouse crawling into its bed, and I was like, okay, the brothers are villains.
That I liked.
They're taking this poor little mouse's home away.
Where did it go wrong? Because I will say when it started, it was clearly like it was trying to be a little bit of a throwback in like the style, and I think it was doing slapsticks. They're kind of like trying to evoke, older, almost like earlier generation of films and stuff. And it started off like, okay, it's kind of, some of it was kind of funny. I think some of the story, I was like, okay, this is kind of like it's not like an amazing story necessarily, but I was like, it kind of feels a little throwback, and like the characters are a little charming, to me at least. Rod, am I completely off here? Or like, where do you think the movie went wrong for you?
I was like with it for a while. The first half an hour is just getting to know these two guys, and I like both the actors. I like Nathan Lane. I thought he's like an out of work chef due to like mishaps or whatever, and I was like, this is fine, and it's very whimsical. And I thought Gore Verbinski's direction was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So it almost reminded me of like a Matilda, like something just like fairy tale whimsical.
Yeah.
From the.
And I did watch this as a kid, and I did remember like, okay, this kind of does have like, I remember it being kind of like an edgy kids movie. You know what I mean? Like you could watch it. Like that's why it's like the highest grossing movie that you could take a kid to see. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was, other than going to see Anastasia, which had been out for a while, like, this might have been your best shot to take your kids to a movie.
But then they spend all this time saying you should empathize with these guys. Like they're out. They're down and out. And a lot of it wasn't really their fault, other than they're kind of goofy. And then it does that switch about halfway through, where all of a sudden they are the villains of the movie, and it's Home Alone, except the protagonists are Harry and Marv, and instead of a little kid left alone, it's a mouse that can't talk. And so I was just like, who am I rooting for here? Because it's like, if I was in their position, because they owe money on their taxes, they don't have jobs, and like they need to sell this house. They need to renovate this house and sell it in order to be saved. And so the movie makes me want to say, yeah, get that mouse out of here. These guys need to make some money.
Help the poor guys out, yeah.
But then the movie keeps telling you, no, they're terrible, and this poor mouse didn't do anything wrong, and the mouse is kind of the hero for a while, and it was so like confusing.
I mean, this mouse has just been living in this house, this otherwise unoccupied house for. I guess however long the mouse's life is.
Well, this was no ordinary mouse either, so who knows?
Yeah, it's a supernatural.
They, shipped it off. Where did they ship it to?
Cuba.
Yeah, it survived.
Yeah.
There and back.
I didn't mind that it was like it asked these guys to be villainous, especially because like every other character in the movie is so awful. Like every character in the movie is like cynical and bad.
Yes.
I think. So I was like, okay, it's sort of like, it felt almost like, not satire, but it felt like, I don't know, sarcastic or something in a way that I was like, I like this. But I do think, and I read this was a lot of reviews at the time. We're talking about some of for me, it just kind of jumped the shark, and that like the mouse stuff went a little too far. Like some of the earlier bits were really funny, or like I even think just some of the ones that were more practical, or like them hitting each other with hammers is great. Them getting like mouse trapped is funny to me, but it with some of the, you know, this was like the 90s where they're getting experimental with CG and they're like they're trying to push it to the limit. And a lot of that stuff.
It didn't look too bad though.
It did look too bad, but it elevated. There was like a comedic side to it that I liked. And it was like a cartoony side to it. But I feel like it elevated a little too far. It just went like some of the things were a little too ridiculous. For what?
I honestly, I disagree. I think they could have done more of the slapstick physical humor. Like there's a point where Christopher Walken shows up and he is an exterminator that they've hired. And he has a great scene where the mouse has hooked him to his truck's, was that a winch on the front of his truck outside? And he is dragged through the home and he is like, his head is like breaking floorboards. And I was like, okay, this is a Looney Tunes cartoon. This is great.
I felt like that was affected me. It might have just been because that did feel more like practical. Like it looked like they actually like tore up like the floor and everything. So it had this sort of like tangibility. But I feel like I was thinking more of some of the like CG stuff. It was like it didn't look bad, but I feel like it brought it too far, and it was like I don't know, it didn't click for me in the way. I liked the stare gag though, and I like Christopher Walken. I definitely remembered him eating the poop of the mouse.
Oh no, too much gross out humor in this movie. I think that's what really did it for me. That pushed me over the edge.
That too.
As soon as they're using a vacuum cleaner to suck up raw sewage and it explodes,
I'll give you that too.
I was just like, this is too much. This is disgusting. I hate this movie.
You were that too. Yeah, you hated that. I will say too, like McKenna knows I like crude, like really crude stuff. I listen to really crude stuff all the time. But I feel like that shouldn't have been the vibe for this. I feel like a violence was the key. You know what I mean? Mouse traps, getting hit with hammers, smashing people's heads, you know what I mean? Like taking bumps. But yeah, when it was like the poop or like when he's like grabbing that woman's boobs, when it ends with like they're having a big auction in the house and they're trying to like act like things are normal, but the mouse is messing things up, and it leads to like some situation. He's trying to get the mouse out of a woman's dress and he's like fondling her or whatever. And it was like,
he set fire to another woman's hair.
That was kind of funny, I think, but it was just like, I don't know. Yeah, that stuff didn't feel like it fit in the realm of this movie. It felt, if they would have put some more effort into the stunts and some of the physical bits, I think it would have been better.
If it were me selling a house where the mouse was giving me trouble and I had people offering me big amounts of money, like no questions asked, they can deal with the mouse.
Yeah.
I mean, and I appreciate sometimes like their hubris is what undoes them. You know, like they refuse to take an offer where it would have been a done deal before all this happened, and then they try to make a deal with some mobsters out in the town square, and Nathan Lane gets too distracted by like two hotties across the street to make the deal. And I was just like, in another movie, this is good stuff.
Yeah. I was like, a couple other things that stuck out in my mind that I always remembered from being a kid was the scene where Lee Evans gets his clothes torn off in the string factory, where his clothes get made into yarn balls. That definitely kind of not scarred me as a kid, but left an imprint, like a guy being unwillingly stripped naked by machinery was evocative, I think. And then also seeing that same machinery being used to make yarn balls, but that are string cheese, also really stuck out to me. So I those at least it's some iconic imagery. We should mention, there's a lot of great scores in all these movies, but like this movie had like I think Alan Silvestri did the score for this.
Yes, I think you're right.
It like a lot of the cinematography, like it looked cool. So there was a lot of good like imagery and stuff that like stuck out to me, maybe just because I saw it as a kid. But yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't rewatch this, to be honest. So shout out to Christopher Walken though.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby, along with other adjacent subjects like Smash Brothers, HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth, well-researched look at a Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience playing Kirby games, creating Kirby-related content, and working in and around the video game industry. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a theater and video game journalist.
And my name's Bridget. I'm an online Kirby commentator and collector.
Our team also includes photographer and Nintendo ambassador Kai Captain Dangerous Parker and Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Wick Kirby. Join us for deep dives into Kirby's history, interviews with industry professionals, and even inside looks at Nintendo, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. You can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay, yeah. we're making great time. Let's go to number 3, our $12 million grossing movie, As Good as It Gets.
Melvin Udall has only 2 problems in life.
Melvin, wait! Shut up, kids!
Human beings.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
And being human.
You want to dance?
Well, I've been thinking about that.
And?
No.
Jack Nicholson. Don't you be like me. You stay just the way you are. As Good as It Gets. Rated PG-13. Opens December 23rd in select cities. Everywhere December 25th.
Directed by James L. Brooks. People may know him from like The Simpsons. That's where it stuck out to me. But Spanglish. Okay, yeah, banger after banger. So this movie stars Jack Nicholson. He plays this famous writer who has OCD, but he's also a major asshole, and he can only get breakfast at this one spot served by this one specific server played by Helen Hunt, who he eventually pays to have her sick son cared for so she can come to work and serve him. And he clashes with his neighbor, who's played by Greg Kinnear, who is a gay artist who ends up getting assaulted by the cast of Scream, Skeet Ulrich and Jamie Kennedy. And Jack Nicholson, he takes care of his dog. You know, he loves the dog. The dog loves him. They all go on a road trip together. Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt fall in love. They all become friends. They all find themselves. It's kind of like a classic rom-com, sort of, but it mixed with like, it felt like Jerry Maguire mixed with a little bit more like Oscar bait, where it's like, oh, we're gonna have themes about like homophobia and stuff in the movie, and like we're gonna make it's like a very much like we're gonna feel better about ourselves type thing, you know. Rod, what did you think about this movie?
So this is the first time I'd seen this movie as well. I remember watching clips of it in a psychology class in high school. To show us about OCD, you know. And
was it an accurate portrayal?
I don't think so.
Okay.
There's one there. I mean, if you want me to get into it, there's one scene where Jack Nicholson, he comes into his home to his apartment for the first time, and you see that he has to lock his door 5 times.
Yeah.
You know, that's just part of his routine. And then when he goes to wash his hands, his water needs to be scalding hot, and he has to use a fresh bar of soap every time.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is physically hurting himself to wash his hands, and he's just like, ow, ow. And that felt, I would assume it felt a little bit more real and visceral to like an actual person with OCD, whereas like, oh, you know, this is just something that someone has to cope with. Having OCD, I would argue, doesn't make you the most awful, cartoonishly awful human being in existence.
Yeah. I think that would be the kind of fatal flaw with it, is not that like he could be an asshole, you know what I mean? I feel like you could make a movie about that and see maybe how it could affect you socially or whatever, you know, and like how like the way people look at you or whatever. But I think the biggest flaw for me is that his character is like an artist. He's a writer, and one of his main things in this movie is connecting with another artist who does paint drawings or whatever, sketches and whatever else. And I was like, I felt like they didn't like fully explore Jack Nicholson's character's like humanity, you know, and I felt like the art artistry could have been one way, to show it, but like they don't. Yeah, I feel like they don't ever really broach that. Like they don't really actually get into like, I don't think what actually could make him feel more likable or human. You know what I mean? You just kind of like people feel bad for him a little bit, and then the dog likes him. Am I off here? Like
there's a lot of things I would have done differently if I was making this movie.
Okay, yeah.
Not pairing Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt would have been one of them, because I just
the age of her
hated it. Yeah, once they started really going at the romance part of it, I was like, I don't like this at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. And there's movies I do like where they're like the characters do have like they are significant in age. I'm not saying like there's like a catch-all like they have to be this age, but it felt very out of place in this movie to me.
I didn't feel any like at any point before it started going there that there was potential for it to go that way. There was no like romantic chemistry there that
he felt like her like dad or something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, just like some old guy who's like, all right, this is my waitress, and like I see this person every day, so maybe I care something about their well-being, but not like any more than that.
For sure. Yeah.
There's when they're in the restaurant in Baltimore. This is the part where I was like, this is not Baltimore.
Uh-oh.
They're going into this place to eat crabs, and they're all dressed up fancy, and no one's getting a bib, and there's no Old Bay on the table.
Immediately red flags. Yeah.
But she asks for a compliment because he's just been rude, and he says something like, you make me want to be a better person.
Yeah.
I think. And I was like, that's like not a good compliment to give right now.
I'm glad you brought that up, because this was of this batch. This is the only movie that Jess was in the room to watch with me.
Oh no.
And we both disliked it quite a bit. We also had plenty of problems with the romance, the proposed romance. And during that scene where they're having dinner and Helen Hunt asks for a compliment, Jess looked at me and said, I know you're going to talk about this with Gooey McKenna. Ask McKenna how she felt about this scene. And there you go. You're already sharing about it. Because she was just as frustrated by that as well. Like, that wasn't a compliment, or that wasn't sweet. And it sure as heck shouldn't inspire Helen Hunt to want to kiss him.
Look, we all just need a guy that we can fix, right? That's what it's all about.
And he makes it so much worse, and they all go home from this road trip like upset. And she like goes home and is just like defeated. But he comes back, he goes to her apartment that night to like win her back, and she like just offhand says, "Why are all my boyfriends so weird?" And Jess and I both said, "Boyfriend? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is a pest. Get him out of here."
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's weird. I love Jack Nicholson. I mean, I feel like he's doing his thing in this role, but it's just it's not right. It's not right at all.
The first time he shows up at her apartment, if that had been me, I would have been like, this guy cannot come back to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. I don't want to see this person again. They've just stalked me.
Which that just a kind of side note here, but that made me think my one note about this movie was that it is writer/director city. I don't know if you noticed this, Rod, but there are 3 different roles that have cameos in this that are all people who are writers and directors. You had there's 2 doctors in this. One was like the psychologist, and one was the kid's doctor. I forgot who played who.
Oh yeah,
but Harold
Ramis.
Harold Ramis was one, and then Lawrence Kasdan was the other.
Really? Okay, I didn't recognize him.
I didn't recognize him, but I saw him and I was like, I recognized that I had seen him. You know what I mean? I was like, and I had to look it up because I was like, who is this? And then the manager of the restaurant that Helen Hunt works in is played by Shane Black.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, that's a weird flex. He just like got all these cameos of other directors. But anyway, the movie, I don't know. I feel like I never saw it. But I always remembered him holding the dog on the cover. I had definitely seen it in like video stores and stuff when I was a kid. And so when we started watching it and there was the dog, I was like, oh, this is going to be about the dog. And I felt like that could have him and the dog and him connect, he's like an asshole to his gay neighbor, but I was like, okay, he's going to connect with the dog and then connect with him. And that's going to be the movie. And it sort of was, but then it was other stuff that I felt like didn't work and didn't need to be in the movie. I wouldn't have cut Helen Hunt out entirely necessarily, but
no, I think they could have had like an interesting dynamic between the three of them without it having like a romantic thing going on. They were, like what was the artist's name?
Greg Kinnear. It's the actor. I don't know.
I think him and Helen Hunt were very fun together. I think maybe they could have had something going on with Jack Nicholson that wasn't. It was just more like a human friend thing.
You didn't need to fall in love in the movie.
Yeah. Quick side note: I love that we have more than one movie where people are drawing people naked.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. So there's a scene where Greg Kinnear draws Helen Hunt like one of his French girls.
And you know what? I liked that part because it was like
that was a good scene.
Yeah.
He got re-inspired, and she kind of felt like it gave her some like, I don't know, self-confidence or whatever.
It's sort of like this movie could be two great movies far away from each other. Like, I think Helen Hunt's character arc was really interesting because at the beginning of the movie, she's, a single mom trying to, still find love out somewhere. And she's like dating this guy who's like way too young for her. And she's feeling a little insecure about it and about herself. And then she has this, this platonic night with Greg Kinnear where he draws her. And she's like, it was the most like intimate I've ever felt. And it was great. And I was like, that's a cool arc.
Yes.
Why is Jack Nicholson here?
Like stumbling around. Yeah. And Cuba Gooding Jr. was there as well. Maybe that's why I felt Jerry Maguire vibes or something. This, like I said, that's why this rings totally as like Oscar bait, because it's like people feel good because we're tackling these things, but it's also in like a very like I feel like they have a tradition of this movie did get nominated for a ton of Oscars, but obviously you had Titanic there as well to kind of box it out a lot, but it did win some. Well, I think a lot of the actors won. Jack Nicholson. Yeah. But
Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt both won.
It reminds me of a Green Book situation. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Where people are like, oh yes, we're very evolved, but it's actually like very offensive in some ways. So
he's so bigoted. He's homophobic, he's racist, and in the most crude way possible.
Yes.
And I was like, there's no like, it's not really social commentary. It's just like crass.
Yeah.
And like almost juvenile.
Yes.
Like he'll just drop slurs out of nowhere, and I'm like, Jesus.
Look, we got plenty of time now to discuss these movies, so let's move on to our number 2. Another one we had to have Rod on, obviously. This was an eventuality for sure. Grossed $20 million that weekend. We've got Tomorrow Never Dies.
Welcome to my world crisis.
In a world where mass media controls everything, one man has gone too far.
Outstanding.
But he's got one small problem.
On here. Would you please kill Mr. Bond?
Was it something I said?
Tomorrow Never Dies. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 19th.
Directed by, how do you pronounce this guy? Roger Spottis? You know what? It's some British guy. I'm not gonna try to pronounce his name. Tomorrow Never Dies. We've got our boy Pierce Brosnan back as James Bond. He's basically the movie he's sent to. He's got to go do James Bond stuff, spy on Elliot Carver, who's our villain. He's a media mogul portrayed by Jonathan Pryce, he's married. The whole setup is he's married to Bond's ex-lover, played by Terry Hatcher, and he's got to team up with Michelle Yeoh to take him on. She plays this Chinese agent that he teams up with. And they're like, they send him in. They're like, hey, you used to, be with his wife. You should go spy on him, I guess. And they basically got to stop his plan to help start World War III so that he can secure exclusive broadcasting rights in China for 100 years, which is an amazing plot, I think. Obviously, this comes with we've watched GoldenEye was such a big feature on our show. Rod, I know we'll have to talk about it eventually. I know you played the Tomorrow Never Dies video game for PS1 quite a bit.
I didn't.
Oh, I thought you had.
I didn't have a PS1 growing up.
Oh, okay.
I obviously played a ton of GoldenEye, and I was way too young to understand developers and publishers and licensing rights. So I just assumed GoldenEye was great, and it came out on the N64. I keep seeing screenshots for this Tomorrow Never Dies game in the game magazines. Obviously, this will come to N64, and obviously it's going to be made by the same people who made GoldenEye, and it never came. And, I never got a chance to play it because it was obviously in EA's hands, and EA developed it on their own, independent from Rare. So yeah, I never got a chance to play it.
Okay, we'll book that then, because we'll get to it eventually, and we'll be playing all the Bond games on N64. So I feel like it's only fair that we eventually play the PS1 games. So I think I'll
have to hunt it down and play it.
Yeah,
then I'll know.
Okay, so GoldenEye. We've talked about GoldenEye before. What do you think about this movie coming off of GoldenEye, Rod?
I had not seen this movie as a kid. If I had seen this movie after playing GoldenEye, because I did try to watch GoldenEye after playing the game when I was a kid, and I think it was a little too political, a little too cerebral for me at 7 years old to enjoy. I would have loved this movie, and I love it now. It's maybe the perfect James Bond movie.
The perfect Bond movie,
right? It's.
Are you not saying? Are you
action packed?
Okay.
It's sexy. It's funny. It has globetrotting. Michelle Yeoh is like the perfect James Bond partner. It also has like political commentary because it has to deal with like kind of a media empire. Like the bad guy's basically Rupert Murdoch.
Yes, he's trying to do fake news.
Yes. And so it is like if I was to recommend a James Bond movie for someone to start with, I was like, Tomorrow Never Dies. You'll get all the Bond you need.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I don't know what I expected, but that's cool to hear. Okay, McKenna, you're a seasoned Bond veteran now. You've seen almost all of the movies, save for the last few and like the last two of Pierce Brosnan's. What did you think about this one?
I liked certain things, and I had a hard time taking Jonathan Pryce seriously as the villain, and
okay,
it might just be because like I'm mostly used to seeing him in Pirates of the Caribbean, and I kept seeing that's just like all I could see watching this.
Okay, see, I like those movies, but like I don't have him. Like I had seen him in this movie, you know what I mean? And there's some other movies I've seen with him in it, so I never had that association. It
was really hard for me to see him as like menacing.
Okay, because he is a little like heightened in like a fun Bond villain way, but he's not like completely goofy. He's not going completely goofy, but he definitely is having like a little fun with it too. But that was like, oh, I don't buy it.
Yeah. Okay. I love Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. Love all of her action bits. Love the part where it's like just her fighting off a bunch of guys.
They give her like her own scene because it's probably like, look, we can't. Pierce Brosnan cannot do what this scene calls for, so they have her do her whole scene, and then he shows up at the end of it and punches a guy out or whatever. I feel like, well, her one scene is cool. I feel like they could have maybe just knowing, like, you know, if you've seen her first action movie even before she was even like a veteran, she's doing crazy shit, and then this it's quite tame, which I kind of expected. It's not going to be like a martial arts movie necessarily, but I felt like she could have done a little bit more, especially by the end when she's just like chained. Remember how he saves? Does he save Rod? Does he save her at the end of this movie? What's going on with that underwater part? There's like an explosion and they've got to, I think they got to stay under the water.
Oh yeah. Cause he like breathes water into her, or he's supposed to be breathing air into her lungs.
Is that what
they're underwater?
Yeah. Is that that's what he's doing? Okay. I was like,
yeah, like, but that doesn't make sense. Cause you don't breathe oxygen out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was wondering if the movie was,
he's like breathing CO2 into her mouth while underwater. And it's like, it's meant to keep her alive.
That was a little bit weird. I will say. But otherwise, she's a pretty cool character.
I like the action scene where they're handcuffed together and racing a motorcycle through. Was it Bangkok or?
Oh, I don't remember where that.
It was Vietnam, right?
That sounds right. Yeah, that was really cool. How they kept kind of having to like change who was like driving or who was like what way they were sitting or whatever. That was really creative, I thought.
Saigon. Sorry, I had to look that up.
Yeah, I think the action was like pretty solid in this. I wasn't as like hooked by the opening as much, only because I felt like, okay, we just got like at first, because it was like, oh, we just got a runway like Russia scene. I don't know. They weren't in Russia, but they were somewhere like cold and snowy, I think, right? In the beginning, or was it Russia? Anyway, I was like, this is kind of too similar to GoldenEye. But then
I thought the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It does kick up a little bit. I love the ejection seat thing where he shoots the guy out of the back seat into another jet or whatever. That was pretty exciting. And just like the idea of like the guy choking him while he's trying to navigate the plane and be in this dogfight. At first, when like he got into this encounter with this other plane, I was like, okay, then this could be cool, maybe. But then when you threw in that extra guy just trying to distract him, it did make it like a little more exciting.
I did love the parking garage remote control car.
Oh God, yeah! How could we not?
I was like, when do I get to do this in a video game?
That's been memed like a bunch too, like him on the phone driving the car, like doing some mobile gaming.
What did I say? This would have been did I say this for this? This would have been a perfect Wii U game.
He really was, yeah. He was like, yeah. Whoa, that's a great idea.
Yeah, we gotta make more games for the Wii U.
The movie has all these like great standout action scenes that they just they're like well dished out, like, you know, they don't overdo it. Like I think is it Die Another Day, the fourth Brosnan Bond movie? They overdo it with like the goofy action where he's got like an invisible car in an ice palace.
Mm-hmm.
This one, it's just goofy enough.
It is. I'll give it that. And like it has some computer like early CG stuff but it looks good. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing that like breaks the scene where Die Another Day. It's just like bonkers, you know? But yeah, I don't know. I did like that scene where he's riding in the back of the car is pretty iconic. And that part too has like a really good, I remember the music in this. Like I remember the first time I watched it, there were parts like that where the music was like, I think this is the first David Arnold score, and he went on to do like, I think he did Casino Royale and a lot of the modern, not all of them, but a lot of the Craig ones as well. And I remember that was cool, that it had almost like Crystal Method sounding beats with the Bond theme. But there are other parts when it's more of there are a lot of ways where it does feel, you said the perfect Bond movie. There's parts where it feels more traditional Bond with some of it brought back more of the orchestrated score and stuff like that. And in that ways, I sometimes felt like it was like, oh, there's something cozy about that it was like, oh, it's kind of classic Bond. But at the same time, it felt like a step back. It felt like GoldenEye is like kind of cutting edge and cool. And this felt like it had moments like that, but then it also had times like where it feels a bit more like stiff in a way that Bond traditionally is, you know what I mean? Like even the car, I don't think is like, that scene is cool, but like the actual look of it doesn't look cool like some of his other cars at that time. I don't know. Am I off base on that? Do you think, Rod?
I wonder if British audiences were resentful that he's driving like a BMW as opposed to an Aston Martin in this one.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. The BMW was not, does he drive a I don't know. I'm not like a car.
That car that Q gives him is a BMW.
Okay. Does that carry over into other movies? Like,
I know that when Die Another Day came out, they reintroduced the Aston Martin, and that was a big deal.
Okay.
Like, oh, we got him back in his trademark car.
Yeah, and I never like geek out about the watches or the cars or anything, but it just stuck out to me. There was something that's like that it felt like more in between eras than even GoldenEye was. I know that like score for GoldenEye was kind of like mixed at the time what people thought about it because it wasn't that John Barry type thing, but I mean David Arnold is really good. I mean, I think he has made some of the best music for the franchise, so I'm not even necessarily knocking it.
This movie
entirely.
Is a good in between.
Yeah,
it's a good mix of the two.
I liked it more this time. Like that didn't. I think it's because I watched this now after going on a Bond expedition. I think the last time I watched it was like a little bit before, and this felt now more like, oh, this is more in that zone of classic Bond, and I think I appreciated it more in that regard. So, and yeah, I guess speaking of music, David Arnold wrote like what I think he thought would be the theme to it, but this is one of those ones where they ended up using that for the credits. And there are people who like prefer the credits theme over the like actual theme they play after the cold open. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that, Rod? Do you prefer it's Sheryl Crow who does the?
I like the Sheryl Crow song. Yeah. You know, I don't remember being taken with the credits theme. I just thought the Sheryl Crow one was like, it was good. I mean, it's not the best of the bunch when it comes to Bond themes, but I thought it was competent.
Yeah. What did you think, McKenna? You have a preference?
I mean, I like them both, but I don't think either of them were like standouts amongst other themes.
Okay. I actually quite like the Sheryl Crow one. I think I like it's more I like the guitar. It's like a classic spy sounding song but it's kind of like not stripped back, but you've just got like simple guitar, a cool sounding organ on there. I think her voice sounds great. To me it does feel more unique, but
I got it confused with the Garbage song from The World Is Not Enough.
Oh,
I always confuse those two. So I was like, is this Garbage? And then it was, it's Sheryl Crow. That's right.
Sheryl Crow. Yeah. I don't know. For me, it's unique in a way. It's not one of my favorite though, but what did you think about just seeing our guy Pierce Brosnan back?
You know, he's cool.
Yeah. Cause that's, yeah. I know there's some people who are kind of mixed on his portrayal of Bond, but I thought he's still
very
good.
Suave.
Very suave. Yeah. Any favorite one-liners? Do you remember any of his? He had some bad ones in this where we like looked at each other and were like, oh boy. Rod, do you remember any of the one-liners?
What was the line where he throws a guy into the printing press and blood splatters on the new editions of the newspaper? And I thought he was going to say something like, black and white and red all over.
Oh,
something
that would have been
like
good. He said,
but he said something. It was like, I was like, oh, that was bad. That was lame. I can't remember what the one-liner was now.
They'll print anything these days.
That's it. They'll print anything these days.
Yeah, I like that.
Does he say like backseat drivers?
Backseat drivers. Oh yeah, he says in the beginning, which this is a change for Bond. He takes out the guy who's smoking and he goes, "It's filthy habit." That's a big change for his character. For Bond's character. What does he say before he kills Jonathan Pryce with the drill thingy? Or does he say it after? I don't remember. But that was a great death, the way Jonathan Pryce got cut up. There's some good villains in this, I will say. You've got like I like the henchman Stamper, what his name? Gotts Otto was the actor who played Stamper. He was kind of a classic like Bond heavy. But then you also had Vincent Schiavelli as Dr. Kaufman, this assassin.
The weird hitman.
He was incredible.
Torture expert.
I was like, why is he's in this one scene? He's like this very quirky, torture expert. And then he gets killed. I was like, oh, come on.
His shadow extends far into the movie because you learn that he's taught the heavy all of his secrets. Yes. He has like these ancient torture techniques that will they're meant to strike each chakra of the body.
Oh yes, the chakra torture.
I don't even know if they got a chance to use them. It was just like they used the weapons a bit in the fight scene in the office building, like the high rise before they jump off.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They just threatened him with it, like, save the genitals for last kind of thing.
That was it wasn't until Casino Royale where we could fully go there. But yeah, they were great, I thought. And I gotta also give a shout out to in the beginning, the whole MI6 part. They had this character. He was like relaying a lot of the information to M and them. He's the guy. What's his Colin Salmon, Charles Robinson. He is the actor who is the guy who gets cubed in the Resident Evil movie by the laser grid. And I love this guy. He's also an Alien vs. Predator. I'm sure there's other things he'd rather be known for, but that's what I know him from. And it's just, I thought it was very cool to see him as like a MI6 character. I just wanted to shout him out. And Jodan Baker, who recently passed away, who I think has got to be for this franchise, I think one of the all-time greats, just in terms of like being in obviously there's some people who've been like a dozen movies, but he's been in a good amount of them and playing different characters. Like how many, I don't know, not many people have done that. So RIP, I guess, to Jack Wade.
I just thought about the scene at the beginning where Bond and his ex are ordering each other drinks.
Yes.
And
yes.
he orders her a drink, but it's not her drink anymore.
Oh, yes. Character
I like
development
that.
there.
Yeah.
That was good. Because she orders him it's the whole shaken, not stirred. What do you think? I remember his Bond, James Bond. It was kind of mid, I'll say. Kind of mid Bond, James Bond.
Very subdued, yeah.
For rank. But, I get it. You kind of did it. You had to do a big one in this one. So now it's like, we're a bit more comfortable. We don't need to it doesn't need to be crazy, So yeah, I guess, I don't know. Where McKenna, what do you think in the realm of Bond movies? Where would you put it if you had to guess?
Probably go like mid, between mid and upper.
It was solid for a Bond movie, I guess. I mean, obviously there's a lot that comes with a Bond movie too. A lot of things that I'm guessing they're not your favorite types of movie necessarily either, but yeah, I would agree with you. I wouldn't go as far as you, Rod, and say it was perfect, but I would say it was pretty good.
Okay, it doesn't approach my favorites. Like now, I would say like From Russia with Love and even Casino Royale are like my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're more sophisticated and
yes,
I think they're
smart.
Deeper than a dumb action James Bond movie. But like if sometimes you just want a popcorn James Bond movie, and this movie's got it all. So I think with Pierce Brosnan's catalog of Bond movies, it's like GoldenEye and this stand at the top for different reasons. And it just kind of depends on what you want that day. Do you want a more cerebral, smart political thriller type film, or do you want a bonkers, action movie with just cartoon characters in a way?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I remember in terms of the feel of it too. I remember this movie's got like more like cinematically, it's a little different too. It's got like a more lens flare going on, so I feel like that was their way of being like kind of edgy, but it didn't fully work to me.
Can I say something on that? I thought I was actually, as I was watching all these movies, I was like thinking there's like different shades of the 90s with these different movies. And Jackie Brown feels like a mid-90s movie. Mousetrap felt like a whimsical Matilda-esque 90s movie, so on. Tomorrow Never Dies felt like a turn of the millennium movie.
Yeah.
It felt like that for lack of a better word, like new metal, chrome lens flare, look of the millennium specifically.
Stylistic changes also. Moneypenny haircut, it wasn't very good. Some of his fits weren't fully doing it for me either. Again, I'm not an expert on the clothing or the look, but he had some good ones though. And also good to see Judi Dench, not a big role in this one. Doesn't always need to be. And good to see Desmond Llewellyn, one of he's almost to the end.
His penultimate time as Q.
Yeah, he's looking older than ever. Shout out to him. He was great. Okay, main event time. All right, let's talk about the number one, the highest grossing movie that weekend and for many more weekends beyond December 1997. But that weekend ranking in $35 million, James Cameron's Titanic.
On December 19th.
Iceberg, right ahead!
Nothing can prepare you for Titanic.
Please help me! I won't let go.
20th Century Fox and Paramount Pictures present Leonardo DiCaprio.
We have to stay on the ship as long as possible.
Kate Winslet.
You jump, I jump, right?
From James Cameron.
I don't enjoy your time together!
Director of T2 and True Lies.
This is it!
Titanic, rated PG-13. Starts Friday, December 19th at theaters everywhere.
I don't know. I don't know if I need to explain exactly what it's about. It's a fictionalized retelling of the sinking of the Titanic with a love story between Kate Winslet, Leonardo DiCaprio, Rose, and Jack. Rod, I'm going to assume you've seen this movie and you have a history with it. Yeah, what was...
Of all these movies, Titanic was the one that I saw the most as a kid.
Okay.
It was actually my little sister's favorite movie growing up. She's a 6-year-old and her favorite movie, whatever, when she was watching it, 4 to 7 years old, she's like, yeah, Titanic's my favorite movie. And it's a weird choice, but that's what I remember. It was like she would just watch it all the time. And I know you two just watched it on VHS, right? You had the double pack.
The double pack, which was iconic. You see that everywhere. It's probably got to be one of the like one of the most like tapes you see the most places, like at thrift stores and stuff like that. Everywhere we go, they got like 4 of them.
Yeah, we had that, and it was one of those things where, like, because I was not the most interested in romance movies growing up, I would catch bits and pieces of Titanic. So I've probably seen Titanic a ton of times, but out of order, bits and pieces. But now, I mean, and I've seen it plenty of times now as an adult, and I love it. It's like 2 great movies stitched together right in the middle.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. It was a movie, like, I don't know if I ever fully watched it as a kid, and then but it was everywhere, obviously. And then like not long after it came out, when I cared about sort of things like this, I did have more of a perception of like, because you had Leo in it, he was kind of like a heartthrob, and you had Romeo and Juliet. I was like, this is like for girls. You know what I mean? Like when I said, when I cared about that and had feelings like that, it was like, oh, this is like, this isn't like, I probably would have, been like, oh, give me Tomorrow Never Dies or something, but obviously, and then when I guess I could have maybe had the chance to get into it was when culturally things shifted where like the main thing people would always, and I feel like this happens with like every other James Cameron movie, is there's some weird thing about the plot that people get hung up on and like hammer on to the point where I feel like we forget what the movie's even like or about. And for this, it was the ending, you know, like it became all about, oh, he could have survived or whatever. So like when I was getting to the age where I would like actually care about movies like that, it was like everyone had turned on it, and I hadn't seen it since I was young. And I had this, you know, not negative, I had no longer a negative impression, but it was probably still there to where it was like, oh yeah, that's some dumb old movie. And then that was also around the time where Avatar was coming out, and, you know, like a bunch of people decided they didn't like that either, even though it was, you know, when people decided it had no cultural impact or whatever, despite being, anyway, we can talk about Avatar some other time. But anyway, that was my sort of like, it wasn't until honestly, like rewatching Avatar and going, obviously I love Terminator, and going back through it and like really appreciating James Cameron, the filmmaker, where then I revisited this, like when I connected that, where I was like, oh, this is amazing and it's classic. And then obviously you and I McKenna went to see it together on Valentine's Day a few years ago. That's my backstory. What's your history, McKenna?
I was around 11 when I watched this the first time. I think I told you, I mentioned this when we did our Independence Day thing. This was like another, it's just my mom and me at home for whatever reason, and I picked this movie to watch. Another disaster movie.
McKenna and her disaster
She loves them.
Yeah.
This is like I feel like this is like the disaster movie, though.
Yeah.
Of disaster movies, right?
It's a classic. Every time I watch it, it's just like, I love looking at it because you can just see how well crafted it is and how much attention to detail there is in everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the sets, and then even like we've been talking about CG. Like the CG looks sick as hell in this movie, I think too.
Yes.
Yeah, the CG mixed with the practical effects. I don't think I had seen The Abyss the last time I watched Titanic. Mm-hmm. But now that I've seen like both Avatars, The Abyss, and this, it just
all the water,
it really makes you appreciate all the water stuff.
You have ever respect for the ocean,
the terrifying ocean.
Clearly, James Cameron has a fear and respect of the ocean.
Yeah, respect is. I'm like, does he love it or fear it? I'm like, oh, respect is the right word.
Yeah,
he's the man who's gone deepest into the ocean, right? Like he's the guy.
Yeah, which is okay. That's another thing too. People get hung up on like historical inaccuracies in the movie and stuff, and it's like this guy's doing the research on it. Like, obviously, the movie isn't accurate, but he is like, through his interest in this and his fascination with it, like he's kind of the guy doing the stuff. Like, not the only guy, but you know what I mean. He's a big part of it, I think. So I think we should.
He's like got the movie charted out by the minute. Like every historical character is exactly where they have been said to have been, you know, during the disaster. You know, like Mr. Andrews, the guy who built the ship, is standing in front of the clock at exactly the time when another first-hand account said he was, and the unsinkable Molly Brown is being browbeaten by a guy in a lifeboat at the exact time it was said he was, you know, telling her, I'm going to throw you out. I'll throw you in the ocean, woman, kind of thing.
Yeah, there were moments like that I didn't even realize were like, oh, that's there because he like just read the source about this one moment and he's like, I got to get it in there.
Yeah.
There was like a lot more subtle ones that I didn't even know about, and we watched the thing where he was talking about it. That is cool. That is very cool. But yeah, I think I guess another thing too was at the time it was probably more limited when I was allowed to watch it, because it does have like nudity in it and stuff. And I think for my parents, that wasn't always like, I wasn't allowed to watch like Armageddon when I was a kid.
When the family would watch it when I was a kid, my mom would say, like, you know, when the painting scene happens, or when Rose is looking at Jack's drawings early in the movie, my mom would say, "You need to go stand in the other room. Go stand in the other room for a few minutes." You know, and I was like, well, how come Carly, my little sister, gets to watch it? You know, for girls only.
Oh, okay. Is that? Oh, I never thought about that. See, that would add to the like for me at that age, like, yeah, it's a girls' movie. They're allowed to see it, but I'm not allowed to see it. You know, like literally allowed to. You know what I mean? I feel like it's not that big of a deal. Like I wouldn't be too worried about a kid seeing this movie. So I think it was maybe unfound. I would have been fine. I don't know. It didn't make me, some movies like that, it makes me want to see it more. But for me, yeah, it was like.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised. Maybe there were some movies that I could watch as a kid that had fast forward scenes. You know, my mom would go stand in front of the TV and fast forward, and something happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know, you're not really fully covering the TV.
Yeah.
It's like, I know what's happening.
So that's just going to create a weird memory of that part for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I guess, yeah, enough, I guess, about personal histories with it. But, Rod, what did you think? You're like watching it. You watched it recently again, right? Like, what'd you
I watched it in 2 sittings. I feel like for me, that's the ideal way to watch it. You know, you watch and treat it like almost like a classic Hollywood movie where there's an intermission in the middle.
That's what we did with the tape, because you naturally had it.
It's kind of like that perfect. It really is like right in the middle, right when they hit the iceberg, and Jack and Rose consummate their relationship. Right, that's when you can take a break.
Mm-hmm.
So the first half, I always feel like this is a great, like, very old fashioned love story, you know, because I think some people will get hung up on how, the dialogue's a little corny, it's a little unbelievable. And I'm like, it's classic Hollywood, man. Get over it. You know,
and
that's
what
that's
what he gets in a lot of his movies. Like, people give flack, I think, a lot of times for. It's similar with Avatar and stuff like that, but I think that's just like I mean, it might not be for you, but I feel like it's not like an accident, you know. I think that's clearly what he's trying to evoke.
Yeah, it is broad, but I think it's very effective in this movie. And then the second half is just a great disaster movie. Like it moves. He uses the ship as such an interesting, like, vessel, pun unintended, vessel for action and for suspense, because you got the characters are like running through puddles of water in the lower decks. They are there's like almost like a slasher movie scene where Cal, the fiance, has got a gun and he's chasing them through the ballroom.
Yeah, when it hits, you know, it goes from like not even just like a disaster movie, but like what you associate with the hallmarks of like a James Cameron action movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, like it like zips into that mode so effortlessly, and it's like it's crazy.
And I think the just the emotions that it creates. It's like of this batch, this is the only one that made me cry like this week. So
I don't think I don't think Mouse Hunt made me cry. No. Looking back on this,
not it made me cry in pain.
Like we watched it on the tape, and that the way they split it on the tape is so dramatic. It's the perfect moment where it's like, what line was it, McKenna? It's like it cuts to black like right after this part.
I think you may get your headline, Mr. What's his name?
Yeah, the
captain says it.
Mr. Mustache.
Yeah,
he's like, you're gonna get your headline mustache. After all. Boom, fade to black, and you're like, oh shit. And then like, you know, when you put it in tape 2, like you said, Rod, we're in a different world when we put that second tape in. What stood out to you, McKenna, watching it this time?
I think maybe some of the details.
Right.
You know, you see at the end of the movie, they're looking at Rose's photographs before they kind of switch. They have that whole like scene that transitions like into the ship and like into the destroyed ship and then to the intact ship with all of the people who died. But like I noticed one of the photos is Rose on a horse and there's roller coasters in the background and I was like, oh my god, she did the thing. And I was like,
I never noticed that.
Yeah, I was like, that's literally the point of the never let go Rose that I think people get caught up and like she leaves him. And it's like, well, that's not what it's about. It's about like her gaining her freedom to do whatever she wants to do.
And if he doesn't die at the end, that meaning means less. It's like he had to give up his life so she could have hers. Like that's the point of the end.
Yeah. Like it sounds like, you know what it always sounded like the Jack could fit. It always sounds like something like I might have said watching, like us watching it together, like goofing around on the movie, but like not serious, but it turned into like serious film analysis for some people. I think it became like a telephone game a little bit. That's my
it's very cinema.
Yeah. Like it almost like is one of the foundational, like takes like that became like how people like look at a lot of movies now, like missing the entire point.
I think I had noticed this before watching it this time, but at one point in the movie, he says, "I see you."
Yes.
And I was like, is that something James Cameron has just had in his head for a while? As like another version of "I love you"?
I feel like the production of these movies are somewhat tied together, right? Like, didn't he want to make Avatar first?
Yeah. I don't know when he wanted to make that. I guess he had to wait for technology to catch up.
Yeah.
To make Avatar.
I know he had those ideas going. And like, I think there was some like, yeah, like that helped him with some of the technology then to like make Avatar. So that's kind of cool. So I would imagine though, yeah, maybe some of these things are, I mean, and again, with like what Rod, you were saying, like he's going for like classic Hollywood. Like I think a point of like a lot of his stuff isn't necessarily like even in his writing, it's not like you've never heard this before or anything, you know? So yeah, I could totally see like just certain things like that he would fixate on a little bit and be like, this element is coming back, whether he knows it or not, you know? I don't know. I think despite all of the, you know, whatever the modern takes on it, yeah, I think you watch this now and it's still like everything about it still works, you know? Like I think the love story is great. I think Billy Zane as the villain is a lot of fun.
So good.
He's so nasty. David Warner, as we mentioned, is his guy. Yeah, Billy Zane's very mustache twirling a little bit too, I think.
We were talking about because we just watched Twin Peaks and he's in a few episodes and he's not totally different. He's like he has a certain charm in both, but in Titanic he's like an evil guy, and in Twin Peaks
he's very charming, I think, in Twin Peaks.
Yeah, you like him in Twin Peaks.
You put it best, where you said like the defining trait between the two characters, even though they're so different, is that they're like very self-assured.
Yeah.
And I think he portrays that really well. Like, especially like in the scenes where like when they start hanging out with when Jack starts hanging out with them and he's just like delighted by Jack. I always love that, you know? And he gives off this thing of like, he doesn't seem too worried about what Jack's up to right away. And I think that is because he's just like, he's like, I'm great, and this guy's just some bum, But I still found
it. God, you could almost pass for a gentleman.
Yes, I loved that. I loved how much he loves it. The framing device, you mentioned it already, but that's another thing that I think has where I think people now. I don't know how you feel about this, Rod, where people are like, I just want the movie like about Titanic. Like I don't like this whole modern part of the movie. I
think it dampens the or it softens the like some of the more like on the nose dialogue from the past. Like I think about the mother Rose's mother in the movie is like cartoonishly like snooty.
Oh, sure.
Like they're even when she's being ushered onto the lifeboats, she goes, the lifeboat's gonna be separated by class, I hope.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my God, well, this is it's so silly for someone to say that and just be that concerned with like her, her society. And I partly thinks that you can write that off as like, this is Rose remembering the events of the past that happened like 80 years ago.
Yeah. Or,
and that's why I'm able to like write off like maybe Cal, like the real Cal wasn't as awful as the movie makes him seem because this is Rose's memory of him.
Right. Yeah. When he's like, Picasso, he won't amount to anything. Like this that type of stuff. Yeah.
Like stuff like that is like kind of corny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it works with the framing device.
That's why that to me also goes hand in hand with sort of like the classic Hollywood portrayal. Like, this isn't a movie, despite what you said about like, there's a lot of things he nailed. There's a lot of like research he put into it. I think from a story perspective, I don't think it's like trying to portray like there are certain historical things where you watch it and it's like, it really makes you think like, whoa, it would be crazy to be living then. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it does like transport you psychologically, I think, into that time. Whereas this movie doesn't, like, I don't think like it does in terms of like the shock and horror of the moment, and like there's a lot of human moments in that. But in terms of the story, yeah, it's a bit more cheesy, a bit more romantic, you know what I mean, than like a realistic portrayal. And I think I'm willing to go along with that in the movie. I don't watch it and be like, this is the historical record or anything, It's a bit more stagey, I guess, or something.
And I think the framing device definitely like that moment that McKenna pointed out, where it's like that montage of Rose's life in pictures, I think that really kind of lands the themes of the movie. And without it, I don't know. I don't think it would work as well.
No. Yeah. And I think, like the way it sets up the actual sinking of the ship, like they definitely were doing that from a practicality purpose of like, we want to convey what's happening to the people. Like they've said as much, but I think it does, even now that I know like what's theoretically supposed to be happening. Like, I feel like when you watch the movie and they show that like simulation of what's going to happen, and like the way all the characters in the modern day sort of like empathize or don't with it, you know what I mean? Like the way they all react to it. That's just interesting on its own. Like obviously when it happens in the movie, then it's set up and it feels big, but also like just seeing like there's that one scientist who's like, he's like more casual about it, you know what I mean? And like that just makes me always think about how, with there's certain traumatic events that there eventually comes a point in time where to people it is just like a history, you know what I mean? And you start to distance, yourself from it. Like it doesn't like the way someone who was born before 9/11 might feel about that, or whatever type event, like that sort of thing, Pearl Harbor, or I don't know, something like that. I don't know. That's interesting that it makes you think about it. And then it puts you in it. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, now you're going to like live through this horrible event with them. So I don't know, that always is very effective to me.
It's cool to see the modern stuff because it's like end of the century. Whereas, back in Titanic, they're close to the beginning of the century, and it's a century of a lot of change, and that's pretty much embodied in Rose's character, who comes from money and higher class, but then she leaves all that behind to sort of become a modern woman who's more independent in many ways. Her life is pretty much the 20th century, and she goes through all that change.
She's that like living connective tissue, and there are certain things because we know a woman's heart is a deep ocean of secrets. there are things that will, we have the historical record, we have her accounts, from this character that can help tell us what happened, but there's so much we won't know, and there's so many so many mysteries, potential jewels thrown into the sea we don't know, and I think that ending is impactful too, and I feel like it's a perfect cap on like the story and everything like that. So I support her throwing that thing back in the water.
Yeah. Now they can go hunt for it.
Yeah, it gives them something to do.
Yeah.
That's why he's been down there so long still. We did watch, Rod, did you see the National Geographic special they did where they did all these tests to like see if they could have survived?
No, I didn't see that.
It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. We don't have time to get into it, but maybe they could have if these it's such a funny thing because like they're doing science on like a film prop. You know what I mean? It's not like a historical item that they're trying to
so they're talking about if they could both get on the bed frame or whatever.
Yep. And
she's bobbing on.
They hooked up all these wires to these Jack and Rose, and they made them act out parts of the movie, and like they're like to see if they went through all the things physically they did in the movie, could they then survive that moment? So they had them do all the things they do in the movie, but in like a tank of freezing cold water, and they brought them.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, I can imagine with the shock of everything. In 34-degree water, you're sitting there going, I don't have time to think about this.
Oh yeah, no, and it was like they're like, yes, if they both got on the door thing and like kneeled down and faced each other and got close for warmth. It was like very specific, and it's just
and their water temps were not. They the way they simulated it is like, well, Our water temps, we couldn't get that cold, so we made them do everything twice as long.
Yeah, we got them to clinical hypothermia.
And then I was like, but what are the air temps in the building? Because I don't think they have the air temps as low as they were, actually out on the seas.
It's goofy. And then they were also... there's certain things they talked about. There are interesting things in it, though, where they talk about... And it's on YouTube, so people should check it out. Where they talk about like, there were things we didn't know, and that we know now through various tests, and then we're going to do even more tests on this. And I don't know, they try to sell it. I don't know how scientifically accurate any of this is, but they're like, they do like, oh, could they have survived if there were more lifeboats? And they have James Cameron cutting ropes on a boat, and they had oh, they were like, one thing that I think isn't totally accurate in the movie, they've come to find out, is the way how high the ship raised up out of the water. And they did all these tests like with a little model. But even that, I'm like, how accurate can that even be? But apparently there are real studies that, I think they were saying like people's accounts of this thing rising up are exaggerated because it was such a traumatic event that it just, seemed like it was like 45 degrees when it was probably like 15 degrees or I don't know, something not as dramatic, but it's interesting.
It still went up pretty high, they think.
Yeah. And there were a couple different scenarios that could have happened, but it like the specific way they portrayed it in the movie, they're like, it couldn't have happened that way. But
oh yeah, I guess the one thing that they talked about is that in the movie the ship kind of sinks like evenly side to side, whereas it would have in real life like filled water on one side, like the left to right, and kind of gone down at more of an angle.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have been as maybe easy to do
film.
A lot of that stuff. Yeah, to film.
I guess I was thinking about like the parts I found, the 2 parts of the movie that I found the most frightening, which were when Rose is alone, trying to find a way to help Jack escape from being handcuffed. And she's like experiencing the water filling up and the lights going out.
Oh yeah, and she just starts,
and people just like not helping her.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh my god, this. I was thinking like, oh, guy, I don't know if I'd be able to do this.
There's a lot of like little character parts that have that too. Like you have that guy who's like unsure if he's gonna open the gate for him. Too. Just a lot of those like little moments where you can like feel like the panic in those characters, even if it's so like for that one it was such a brief moment, but it's very overwhelming.
And then when they shoot the flare and they go like that zoomed out shot where it's just so dark,
it gives you the scale.
There's just nothing forever.
That's terrifying. The ocean is scary to me.
Well, people have to wait out there now.
I will never go on a cruise. I'll tell you that. I will never go on a cruise.
I used to go on cruises with my family a lot. And it always was odd to me because they used to have like movies in the atrium or whatever. Like you go and watch movies with everyone. And they would show Titanic every cruise we went on.
That's horrible.
It's very odd.
It's an immersive experience though. Ugh, no, I definitely could not do that. Yeah, when that part when she's by herself, that was one where I was like, this is like capital JC James Cameron when she's like holding on to the pipes and she's got the axe and it was very like I expected like an alien to come out after her or something in that moment. It was very much like the end of an Alien movie, like where she's just surviving, like but to see that it's like this like historical romance movie, disaster movie, it's like, it's like unreal, I think. Yeah.
I mean, there's tons of little moments, especially in the disaster half. Like, but I always like point to the quartet that continues to play until the very end.
Oh, yeah, that's so awesome.
I always connect with those guys. They're just nice.
All the little moments with how the different characters like are grappling with that moment are very interesting. Yeah.
There's like a heartbreaking scene where you see a mom tucking her 2 boys into bed, knowing, oh, we're all gonna die. Like, it's really sad.
Vasquez
actress, yeah,
from
classic
from Alien or Alien.
That was her.
Versatile.
Yeah, that's
really wow. Okay,
you can't tell because she's not in brown face.
Yeah,
I guess. But yeah, or there's the old couple in the bed is such a
that
or like there's like the count or like the dude with the top hat they keep running into, like, oh, good good show, and like he just goes, we're gonna go out as gentlemen, boys, get me some brandy.
Oh yeah,
and they're just like in their Sunday best, ready to die.
But then when it shows his like final moments, that's also terrifying too. He just gives a look, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like you can, like I had that feeling of like, yeah, he's taking it and he's acting brave. He's putting on a brave face, but in those moments, where he knows what's coming, it's so like a shift, you know what I mean?
And you can't talk about Titanic without mentioning Celine Dion.
Not only the movie, so it continues to be like the #1 weekend box office movie through like
Its Heart Goes On.
March. Yeah. The album also is like a seller throughout the next few months. And not only that, but the entire time, the #2 album is the Celine Dion album that also has the song on it. So it's like, yeah, it's a powerhouse. And
that's so weird. Like what else is on that soundtrack album other than like
James Horner?
Is it just old recordings of like Come Josephine in My Flying Machine? And
I think it's a lot of like Horner's score, I think is really it. Yeah.
So it's all score.
I think so. Actually, I'll look that up. But yeah, what's your take on the Titanic My Heart Will Go On, Rod?
Oh, it's a great song, like so it's iconic, that penny whistle.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just like that song is just like in my, my brain forever. It's just kind of this cultural touchstone for everyone. But I actually I've done a lot of music research just on my own time, the past few years. And I appreciate now being able to hear the quartet playing songs that I was like, oh, I know what song that is. That's Alexander's Ragtime Band. Oh, I get it. Oh, that's Come Josephine in My Flying Machine.
Oh, that's
I like
cool.
the period music that he uses as well. It's clear that the guy was immersing himself in 1912 culture.
Yes, and I think you might like this, but so the original soundtrack was just his score, and My Heart Will Go On, which I get. He wrote that as well, but then there was a 2012 anniversary edition with a bonus disc called Gentlemen, It Has Been a Privilege Playing With You, and it's all their songs that they played.
Nice.
And there's also a CD that's popular music from the Titanic era track listing.
Oh yes.
So yep, it is those songs, yeah. And then there's a 20th anniversary edition that I think that looks like maybe it's similar stuff, but yeah. So yeah,
some of those songs are bangers too.
Yeah, what's your favorite?
Come Josephine in My Flying Machine. Like that's the song they sing the most in the movie. That's the song they sing when they do the iconic scene on the mast where Jack, I'm flying. That's so in some ways that song is like another thematic heart of the movie where it's like this is a woman who wants to fly away. She wants to leave her life behind.
Yeah. Oh, that moment, that is one of the most iconic, I think, shots in any movie ever. That part, yeah. Oh, my heart.
I'm king of the world.
King of the world. Yeah, love it. I love that.
Shout out to Fabrizio.
Oh, he gets the
funnel.
Funnel. Oh, rip.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
Rod, thank you so much. We did it. This might be under 2 hours when I edit it, so I think that was we did a commendable effort. Do you feel like
I am in awe of you.
I definitely Mouse Hunt. I don't know if I could get 45 minutes out of, but Titanic I could probably talk for 3 hours or so yeah, I don't know. Do you feel like have we left anything on the table that's obvious like out of any of these, or what's your big takeaway here?
It's like my biggest takeaway that I was like, oh, something we didn't say. It was like, why did they release Scream 2 in December?
I don't know. That's when Scream 1 came out too, didn't it?
What are they thinking? It's like James Cameron's on the horizon. Why would you release Scream 2?
I think
in December.
The first one yeah, I can't remember. I feel like the first one wasn't even like right away a hit. So I feel like it kind of was like, I don't know if they knew they were going to make another one at first. It got reviewed well. And then like, I feel like the later ones, like it actually was number one until Titanic. So I'm sure it probably did okay.
I guess it's just like, I think of all these other movies and it's like, these all seem like holiday Oscar baity movies to come out right at, Tarantino always releases movies at Christmas. Mouse Hunt seems like a Christmas kids movie. Titanic obviously is like the biggest Oscar contender of the bunch, along with As Good as It Gets. Scream 2 just seems out of place with this crop, even though it was good.
I guess it's like, is it one of those things where it's like, it's a horror movie, you know what I mean? And there probably wasn't much else in its lane at the time. So
yeah,
there was
counter programming.
I mean, you could have gone with the number 7 movie, An American Werewolf in Paris, I guess, if you wanted something horror-ish. But it looks like people did not do that. I guess, and let's give a shout out to number 8, Flubber, number 9, The Postman, and number 10, Mr. Magoo. Shout out to the runners up. God bless you all. Okay, McKenna, anything else before we get out of here? We did it.
Yeah.
It was an amazing effort on all our parts.
Yeah.
Good job, everybody. Rod, thank you for joining us once again. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, McKenna. Well, let's go. We're going to go have some dinner.
Yeah, I'm hungry.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
The ZeldaCast is getting even bigger. Join us on patreon.com/SPNet for access to the ZeldaCast XL, the new bonus show featuring podcasting's dynamic duo, Andy Spiteri and Gooey Fame.
We're taking a new approach to do our bonus shows and giving you more of what you love, letting you get more involved in the show itself. Each month, we'll have some fun and play a few games, answer some Patreon questions, and discuss some Zelda topics on a more personal level.
Consider joining for only $4 a month, and you can ask us questions about Zelda or anything else on your mind. Let us know what topics and segments you want us to discuss, and be a part of an amazing community of Zelda fans hosted by two best friends.
The ZeldaCast XL is taking everything you love about the show and ramping it up even more. So come and hang out with us, only on patreon.com/spnet.